Alrighty, so it is the day before Thursday night football in week 8 of the NFL season. It is absolutely flying by. For you guys today, I have episode 6 of Facts versus Feelings, matchups to exploit and matchups to avoid in week 8. The biggest thing going on this week is there are 5 teams, if I'm not mistaken, 5 teams that are on bye this week. So there's not quite as many matchups as normal to avoid or exploit, both through the running back positions and the wide receiver spots. So just kind of keep that in mind. This video should be just a little bit shorter than normal. So just keep that in mind. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into the RBs to avoid going into week 8. So this first one is a weird one, right? The first running back. It is weird because the last time I said, avoid him, I was right. And I said, but you still have to start him. Same thing again. You still have to start him, but I wish you didn't because of how high you drafted him. It is James Cook going up against the Carolina Panthers in week 8. The Carolina Panthers have surprisingly been holding the running back position to the lowest yards in the past 3 weeks. James Cook is somebody you have to start. Hopefully he does not do what he did in week 5 where I said that and then he rushed for like 40 yards or whatever it was and he had no touchdown. It was really, really bad for fantasy production. You still have to start him because of where you drafted him, but it is not my favorite matchup on the week against the Carolina Panthers. The next matchup I am looking to avoid, and you did not draft him to start him, so do not worry about it, but it is Quinshon Judkins going up against the New England Patriots. They are allowing what? The third least amount of rushing yards to the running back position through the last 3 weeks. On the season, I believe they're top 5 in running back yards allowed. It's not ultimately going to be a good game for Quinshon Judkins. It's not going to be a good game for this Browns offense as a whole. The Patriots defense overall has been great at stopping the run and the pass. So if you have a better option in week 8, I would start them over Quinshon Judkins. And if you don't know like who's the better option, a little plug, I'll have it like a little thing up here somewhere, down here somewhere. I do have my weekly running back rankings that do come out before Sunday. I believe I do it on Friday if I'm not mistaken. So every Friday I have my running back tiers and rankings. So if you're not sure of who you want to start or avoid, or who to start over somebody else, I'll have that video link somewhere around here so you guys can check that video out as well if you feel so inclined. The next matchup I am looking to avoid is the Commanders, who are going up against Kansas City. Number 1, I don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play. Number 2, Kansas City right now for the past 3 weeks is number 4 in rush yards allowed to the running back position specifically. Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara is not a super speedy guy. He's not a super big, powerful running back. Without Jaden Daniels playing, this Commanders offense isn't quite as electric with Marcus Mariota out there. It is also one of those things where Terry McLaurin could not play, Debo could not play. Like, they could be missing a lot of weapons for the Commanders. All in all, it kind of just leads to JCM being somebody you don't want to play just because of the offense as a whole. And it does set up where Kansas City is stopping the run. And unfortunately for JCM, he's a running back. You didn't draft him to start him. You have a better option. Go check out that video like I said earlier if you're not sure of who you want to start, but you have a better option to start in week 8. Another person like James Cook, who so far in the season, I've talked about him once or twice, and every single time he has been there because you drafted him to be there. It is CMC and the 49ers going up against the Texans. The Texans are top 8 on the season in rushing yards allowed to the running back position, and I want to say they're at number 6 in the past 3 weeks to the running back position. CMC is going to be fine. You have to start him, but I would not be banking my entire week on CMC having a 30-point game or a 25-point game. CMC probably won't have his best week on the season. It could be his worst week of the season, but even like the worst week for CMC could be like 15, 16 points. You're absolutely still starting him, but just don't be banking on him to bail you out in week 8. Okay, so there's a lot more running back matchups to like exploit and people that you have to play this week, especially in deeper leagues. The first matchup to exploit is the Bengals going up against the Jets. Chase Brown and Breece Hall are both set up to absolutely smash. The Jets right now are bottom 10 in rush yards allowed to the running back position, meaning they are giving up the bottom 10th amount of yards. They're giving up a lot of yards on the ground. Chase Brown should be able to get there. This game may not be super high scoring. He would have had about 16 points, I believe, last week had he scored a touchdown. He had over 100 rushing yards. It was his best game on the season. I think we're going to continue to see that going forward with Joe Flacco being able to elevate this offense and actually effectively move them down the field, put them in scoring position, and extend the field with his wide receivers, which opens up more running lanes and underneath routes for Chase Brown for this offense. Breece Hall on the flip side, the Cincinnati Bengals, bottom 10 defense and passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed, points allowed. They're just bottom 10 in everything. Breece Hall is going to have to be a feature staple going forward. Doesn't really matter who the starting quarterback is. Doesn't matter what's going on with Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall is going to be the guy. All these things are setting up where both him and Chase Brown are absolute smash starts in week 8. Another matchup that you're going to exploit, whether you like it or not, because you're starting him whether you like it or not. Colts going up against the Tennessee Titans. Titans are bottom 10 in rush yards allowed. They are giving it up on the ground. Jonathan Taylor has looked like the running back one on the season. He's also looking like the most dominant running back on the ground in the NFL. Not just fantasy football, but in the NFL. He is going to absolutely tear it up against the Tennessee Titans. He's going to rush for over 100 yards. He is going to absolutely pop off and dominate in this matchup. Probably a lower scoring game, not because the Colts can't score, but because the Titans can't score. They can't move the football on the field. They can't pass. They can't run. They can't do anything. Can't score any points. Lower scoring game. You're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor probably running the football in the second half. Lots of goal line carries. He's going to pop off and smash in week 8. So another matchup to exploit is the Vikings going up against Chargers. For 3 straight weeks, the Chargers are allowing running backs to rush for over 100 yards on the ground. The Chargers right now, through the past 3 weeks, are bottom 5 in rush yards allowed to the running back position. It is going to set up where Jordan Mason is the primary ball carrier for the Vikings. I am not worried about Aaron Jones coming back. Whether he plays or doesn't play, it doesn't matter. Jordan Mason is going to be able to get there on the ground, score touchdowns. Like, it doesn't matter if this game's medial scoring, low scoring, high scoring. He's going to be involved. He is going to tear up this horrible run defense for the Chargers and probably end up finishing like a high-end RB2 in week 8. Flip side of like the matchup from earlier with James Cook, but the Bills are letting you get there on the ground. They are bottom 3 in rush yards allowed through the past 3 weeks to the running back position. This should be a week where Rico Dowdle absolutely pops off and eats. This could be the week where the team says, hey, you know what, Chuba, we love you, but we're going to flip-flop. You're the third down back. Rico's getting 60 to 70% of the carries, and you're getting 30% of the carries on a good week, and that's what we're going to do going forward. This could be a week where it's 50-50. You put him in as a flex in deeper leagues and he does well enough for you, maybe 12 to 15 points. Nothing too gaudy, but he has a potential, if they end up seeing it early and often from him against this really bad run defense from the Bills, that he gets a lot more carries this week than Chuba and pops off as more of a middling RB2 in week 8. The next matchup to exploit and running back to exploit is the Broncos going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Past 3 weeks, Dallas Cowboys bottom 2 in rush yards allowed to the running back position. J.K. Dobbins should be set up to absolutely smash and dominate in week 8. The Broncos are going to have to score points, which means J.K. Dobbins is going to probably get a decent amount of goal line carries and goal line touches in this week's game. J.K. Dobbins should finish as more of like a middling RB2 to a possibly high-end RB2 in week 8. The last matchup to exploit, kind of like earlier with Jonathan Taylor, you're going to play this guy whether you like it or not because you're starting him every week whether you like it or not. It is the Falcons going up against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are ranked dead last for rush yards allowed to the running back position. They are allowing over 140 yards per game to the running back position on the ground solely. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier are both smash plays this week. Bijan Robinson is going to get the majority of carries, obviously, so he could have a 40-point game. He could easily finish as RB1 on the week. That would not be outside of the realm of possibilities. Even Tyler Algier is probably viable in larger leagues, like 12-man leagues and larger leagues, or leagues that have like deeper rosters that you're starting every single week. Tyler Algier is probably going to be viable because if they are up by a lot of points in the third and fourth quarter, he will probably take over when Bijan sits and get a lot of yards as well and has touchdown equity any given week, especially against these crappier run defenses who he is going to have the opportunity to like score points against. Alrighty, so those are the running back matchups to avoid and exploit in week 8. Like I said before, not quite as many as like in week 7 and previous weeks, but it's because there's so many teams on bye this week. So when it comes to the wide receiver position, there's again not quite that many matchups to exploit. I don't do matchups to avoid only because it's not going to be quite as sticky as running back situations to avoid week over week over week. The matchups that I am looking to exploit this week is the Green Bay Packers going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Has the potential to be a higher scoring game. Both of these teams are bottom 10 in pass yards allowed through the past 3 weeks. DK Metcalf should be able to get there. Matthew Golden should be able to get there. Tucker Kraft should be able to get there. Romeo Doubs should be able to get there against really bad bottom 10 pass defenses from both the Steelers and the Green Bay Packers this coming week. The next matchup that I am looking to exploit is the Eagles going up against the Giants. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith should absolutely pop off in this game. I'm not saying we're going to see exactly what they did in week 7, in week 8, but it should be a lot closer to week 7 than like week 1 or week 2 or week 3. They should be passing the ball a little bit more, trying to open up rushing lanes for Saquon Barkley. The Giants are bottom 10 in pass yards allowed through the past 3 weeks. Devonta Smith might be more of a plug-and-play guy. I think this is a good matchup that could potentially be higher scoring if Jackson Dart can get it going through the air and with his legs. Either way, AJ Brown, you're definitely starting. I would be starting Devontae Smith in every league size as well in week 8 against the New York Giants. The last matchup that I am looking to exploit, because they right now are bottom 3 in pass yards allowed for the past 3 weeks, it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the New Orleans Saints. Surprisingly, though, it is the Saints that I am looking to try and take advantage of with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. This game could end up being potentially really high scoring. Both of these defenses haven't looked that great the past handful of weeks. If you're not comfortable starting Chris Olave, I'm telling you start Chris Olave, just like AJ Brown. When it comes to Rashid Shaheed, though, it realistically could set up as a really good pop-off week for him. He could have a couple of deep down the field targets because of how high scoring this game could be against Tampa Bay. Alrighty, so there are my running back matchups to exploit and avoid, and my wide receiver matchups to exploit in week 8. Hopefully this video helps you just a little bit closer to winning your fantasy football championship in 2025. If you are somebody who's in a deeper league and you are looking for people out there to potentially pick up for your roster on the waiver wire, I know it's already cleared, but you can get them for free. I've been trying to curate my videos to deeper leagues out there. So there could be somebody who's still available, that's potentially possible, who could be available, who you could pick up for free, who have the potential to actually break out in the back half of the season. Maybe you are somebody who's like, no, Ethan, my roster set up, I'm good, but I do play with DST. I will have my DST streaming video either up here, down here, somewhere on the screen. I think I have some really good plays for you in week 8, especially if you're streaming. So if either one of those things sound good to you, go check out those videos, go check out one, go check out both, however you want to do it. I would greatly appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you guys again. No, hopefully you guys will see me again real soon. And until then, y'all have a blessed day.